up with some of my crazy ideas. It takes a lot of guts to say some of the crazy things I say, but what I find fascinating is the things that I usually like really think I should edit out are the things that resonate most with people. To the computer. All right, welcome to the 30th episode of the Advisor Tech Book Live podcast. Please keep
Wait, Joe,
listening.
do we lose everybody already?
I think we did. I
Yeah,
think we lost everybody.
See, we got to have that compelling
boring.
initial opening.
Okay, so you guys run the AI for Advisors podcast. I run the Advisor Tech Book Live podcast, and I'm probably the most anti-AI person in this industry. I hope I am. I mean, if I'm not, I'm doing something wrong. You guys are probably very pro AI. So
We are.
we can start with that. What problem are you guys trying to solve for advisors using AI? Like the big, bad, awful problem that you're trying to solve.
I mean, I'll
Well,
jump in. I mean,
yeah,
I think for I'm not firstly, I'm not like trying to solve anything with AI. Specifically, I as a consultant am really focused on helping firms grow and scale and solve for a lot of inefficiency within their organization. And I think AI is a really powerful tool, very unlike anything we've had before, that really allows you to have, exponential powers in doing those things when you have good system and process underneath, clean data, and decent tech. But like AI on its own doesn't do anything without a lot of foundational work.
Yeah. No, I'd love to get Mark's take, but my take is like advisors waste an enormous amount of time on technology and a whole bunch of other things they shouldn't be doing.
Agreed.
Whoops, I almost knocked my microphone. Before AI even came along. So now with AI, advisors are wasting so much time and money just even thinking about AI that they're not actually doing any of the things that they actually should be doing to make money, to run a business, to help clients. It's become the single biggest distraction, the single biggest time waster, like for the entire planet. It's incredible how much AI has actually destroyed efficiency.
So
And
are you saying that there's no value in using AI to generate AI, action figures and those sort of images that we're doing? Because I think I've generated AI images of everybody on this call and a lot of
I'm not saying there's no value. I'm just saying like there's absolutely value to entertainment. But the question is like, how much entertainment do financial advisors need? I don't know.
yeah. You're talking about it being like a massive productivity suck, not a productivity enhancer, right?
Right.
So that's I think that's actually a fair criticism. It does, I mean, remind me a little bit about the word on the street, late '90s internet, where people were like shutting down web browsers at companies because they're like, people are spending all the time surfing the web and not doing work,
Yeah.
right? So I think in these tech transitions, you have a situation where there's a lot of new, interesting technology, and people don't know how to use it. So people do end up burning time. Um, I think I mean, your question about like what are we trying to do? I think first of all, with the podcast, we're just trying to help people make sense of what's out there to help save them time, right? So if someone's driving to work, driving home, trapped in the car, going somewhere, and they listen to our podcast, they're not burning any extra time because they were going to spend that time in the car anyways.
Right.
James is pissed. I always say there might be more productive things you can do with your time than listen to this podcast. But I think ultimately we can hopefully save them time by like learning about what this product is and how it works, and have them not burn a lot of time like actually trying a product, and actually have tools and frameworks for how to evaluate companies. I had someone from Schwab ask me recently, like, "Hey, I see like 15 different companies that look very similar. How do I even tell the difference between these companies? What questions should I be asking?" And I think equipping people to be able to ask the right questions is actually a good first step, so that people can actually understand what's in front of them. I would say that's like the hopefully the aspiration, at least with the podcast. And actually, I think that's what like people get out of listening to watching your podcast and
Yeah.
reading your posts, which are some. Yeah, I mean, I think generally now, is LinkedIn a time suck or is it a productivity enhancer? What would you say?
I wasted an enormous amount of time on LinkedIn. That's a problem I actually need to fix. But
You're an
it
addict,
does,
but then it probably helps build your business too, right? So I would
right?
say that's both ways.
Yeah. I mean, I've been called the king of LinkedIn now, and it's like Michael
People are
Kitts
saying.
doesn't spend as much time on LinkedIn in a week probably as I spend in like an hour. But I'm starting to realize the more I interact with like actually successful people and not like people pretending to be successful, the more I realize you actually have to like be very careful about how you spend your time and make sure that you focus on metrics that actually matter, not like subscribers and followers and likes and comments. They don't actually equal money generally.
That's what you and I were just talking about before the
Yeah.
call, right? Was like, are you busy making money or are you just busy? And we both kind of agreed that like, we're both getting into a place where we're really trying to grow something and we need to figure out where is our time best used. And frankly, that's no different for anybody, right? Anybody should really figure out where their time is best used, but when you're really trying to grow something, you realize how precious that time is. So,
Yeah. I so
Yeah.
two episodes ago I talked with James Knoll, who's added over $1 billion in AUM last year. And
nice.
he's doubled basically every single year. So next year or this year he'll add $2 billion. The way he talks about things is just so radically different than anybody else in the industry. It's like mind-blowingly different.
I'm gonna
Um,
have to go back and watch that. I'm so interested now.
yeah,
I'm
I mean
so
he
intrigued.
says radical things like
How's it different?
he says like sit down and think about what you're actually trying to do and like don't go and listen to 25 Michael Kitts's podcasts. But like he's like the answer to your problems is not in those podcasts. The answer to your problems is sitting down with a piece of paper and like thinking about what you're actually trying to do. Just radical ideas. I mean,
I mean, I don't think it's that radical, but like, yeah, I mean, maybe it is. That is how I personally think that's how you get stuff done. Like you think about, you plan. It's no different than anything else. You plan. And there's value in listening to some of those podcasts to get learnings from others about like what worked, what didn't. But there's also a lot of times, I mean, maybe was it James you said you had on
yeah,
your
James
guest?
Knoll. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from
So
Root Financial, right?
Yep.
For context. Yeah.
yeah, so like, maybe with James, he's a little more contrarian, but the issue with listening to a lot of other stories is that they're kind of what everybody else is doing unless they're a real like breakthrough, right? So if it's like, oh, how did I grow my business from 500 to a billion? Well, there's a lot of firms that did that, and it doesn't mean that there's not good advice in there, but do you want to copycat that or do you want to try and go against the grain, do something that's different, do something that works for your personality, your firm's culture, your clientele you serve? And I think that's where, last year, one of the big words that I think a lot of us used was like niche down, do this, find your niche.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's still true. But like the reality is like it's just focus. That's what it is. It's just focus. Find out what works for you and focus and plan and then
Yeah.
go execute.
I love the
Yeah, I think
Kitsis survey. I keep cutting you off, Mark. I'm just gonna let you talk.
that's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's okay. No, I mean, I want to just echo what James is saying. Like, I think there's this saying, I think YC probably coined it or captured it, which is like anyone building a business should spend half their time with their customers and the other half actually building what the customers want. And everything outside of those two activities should be focused on your health, your wellness, your relationships, and enrichment, like, education. And so really, if you think about it, like a lot of like learning what other companies are doing and reading up on stuff is really enrichment, unless it's directly related to you running your company. I guess then like you really need to be on top of things. Um, I think there's like actually a difference between the financial advisors and the people building in the space in terms of how they should spend their time. So I think financial advisors should just listen to our podcast and your podcast and do nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think, but more seriously, like I think they should probably like be very focused on like what is my tech stack. Once I get it locked in, I don't need to spend a lot of time on it, right?
Yeah.
I can like use it, optimize it, and make sure it's working well. I don't need to be reassessing constantly. I've heard David DeSell on our podcast was talking about people who just spend a lot of time as hobbyists, like trying out every single tool. I can see how that's not a good use of time. That said, like I think if you have one person in your larger firm and you have like one person in your firm who likes this stuff, have them sign up for a bunch of free trials because that might be a breakthrough, and it's not that big of a cost. Maybe every Friday they just like try out a new tool as on a free trial. If it's SOC 2, just go for it. It's not a big deal. Um, and so I would say that's like the thing for the financial advisors. For the builders in the space, which is like more where I'm coming from, there's just a lot happening, and you need to understand what the capabilities are. And if you don't understand the capabilities, then you're just going to be left behind. You're going to be missing out on something that's really important. So I think there were like a couple of breakthroughs that happened recently that had a really big impact. So one big breakthrough was Model Context Protocol, or MCP, where you can safely connect to all these other data sources and bring them in. That really dramatically improved what Knapsack was doing. And, frankly, I've heard from Mark at Zox and Parker at Jump that like they're using those as well. And then I think the other big change that happened is agents actually starting to work. And it took a lot of things to come together for agents to start to work. But this Claude thing that happened, which I know is like very, tech bubble, Silicon Valley bubble sort of as a development. We had someone on our podcast recently.
What was that?
Have you heard of ClaudeBot or OpenClaude?
You know what ClaudeBot is?
I heard about Molt, that social network for AI agents. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So good point. So Moltbook was created by ClaudeBot.
Okay.
So ClaudeBot is this open source project that this guy in Austria created. That he just wanted to like basically give an agent complete access to his computer and see what it could do, and gave it a whole bunch of tools, and allowed it to go off and do a bunch of stuff. And he created a bunch of tooling that gave it access to the command line interface, access to the browser, access to a whole bunch of things. And the way to think about it is like these AI companies have been building browsers, but actually they probably should have just been thinking one level deeper, which is like, what if I can use AI to tell my computer to do work for me? What would happen? So it's exciting because the agents actually do a lot of stuff. It's scary because it has access to your computer, so you need to rein it in a little bit. And so, people are thinking, do I get a Mac Mini? How do I do this? So there's been a whole bunch of work over the last 2 weeks of people trying this. It's open source, so people are doing a lot of interesting things. This is one guy who basically created this. It started as ClaudeBot. Anthropic got a little upset, so he changed it to Moltbot, and then that didn't roll off the tongue. So now he changed it to OpenClaw. So it goes by like 3 different names, which is ridiculously
nuts. That is ridiculous.
And Moltbot lasted like 24 hours.
Yeah, right. This has been moving super fast. And so then there's a Discord group. I'm in the Discord group where people are constantly updating it and like creating different connectors, getting it to do different things. There's skills. So, you could like create like a Wealthbox skill where, they can go off and do things within Wealthbox, for example. And so Moltbook, which I think you were talking about, what happened was there's this random founder who was like, oh, I love ClaudeBot. I'm just going to put it on my Mac Mini and I'm going to give it a name. The name is Claude Clauderberg. And you are the founder of the first social network for agents. Go and make a social network for agents and make it safe, but require only agents. You have to be an agent to use the social network. And he said he was able to code this thing up within about 48 hours. And he put it out into the world, and then it just blew up on social media because I guess people had to verify over Twitter, so there was like a social media hook.
Okay,
very clever. And yeah, so a lot of these are ClaudeBot like agents who are going on the social network and like interacting with each other. And yeah, it's been fun. Of course, also a time suck to your point.
So your first couple comments were like incredibly valuable, and now you're literally crashed through the value so low that like you're now saying negative value things. I do want to return to the valuable things, but
well, let's talk about so that background is fantastic because like let's talk about like what that showed us, right? It showed us really like I think beyond what even some of the builders thought was possible, what's possible.
Yeah.
Right. So envision this right now. No matter what tech stack you have, you're on your phone, you're walking around, you say, hey, give me, tell me about my upcoming client meeting as you're like going to lunch to a client meeting. Tell me about this. It doesn't matter what your tech stack is. It's pulling the information. It comes back and conversationally it speaks with you. gives you the information you want based on how you want it, based on past experiences, etc. Right? Hey, can you update the contact for this? Can you email so and so and tell them I'm 5 minutes late? Like the true assistant. Can you go do this? Build me a presentation for that client, pull in the financial plan data, do this, do that. Like there's really nothing. I'm not saying the quality would be there, but like what Claudebot showed us is that like all this is possible now.
Yeah.
Quality may not be where we want, the security may not be where we want. You're not going to see this in the advisor space next month. Probably even this year, but like it's the power that it just showed us when you take the handcuffs off was rather impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't require APIs. That's a really big deal. So like, Jump and Zox made a big deal when they had e-money integration. This doesn't require any APIs.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Okay.
It doesn't care. Yeah.
So
It'll just use your computer, your browser. Like it'll access any program any way you can do it, or via an API, or via, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So every application is now connected.
Okay.
So as if a human was at the keyboard.
The first thing you said was how advisors are spending their time. And then we talked about how builders should be spending their time. I think advisors should spend 4 hours a day talking to current clients and 4 hours a day talking to prospective clients. Like, period. The tech stack, yeah, I think they should pick a tech stack and then stick with it. But like, I think advisors should pretty much be almost completely ignoring AI. That's my hot take. Builders is different. I think builders absolutely need to be aware of like what's coming down the pipeline and what's changing. But the builders that I think will see massive success are actually solving a real problem, like Altruis solving custodian, or current client solving phone, or Slant solving CRM. Like if you're actually solving a meaningful problem using AI, I think they're going to be the unicorns. They're going to be the winners. All the other platforms, especially the ones that are creating features and not platforms. Like, someone will come to me and they'll be like, hey, we're going to build a data gathering tool for advisors. And I'm like, where does data gathering belong? Data gathering belongs in the CRM or in the financial planning software. So that's where it will be at some point. So if you build a separate data gathering tool that's not CRM or financial planning, you will be irrelevant like within months.
See, I would argue it's upstream of both of those, but
okay.
But regardless, because like when we think about communication, right, which is one of the things I've been kind of ranting and raving about. When we think about communication, it starts much earlier on. Like, how do you meet your prospect in the first place? How do you engage with someone who may eventually even become a prospect and then eventually a client? So like that data gathering starts way upstream. Now, there's certain things that are more specific that you're never going to get until it's time to onboard a client, right? And they're only really relevant to building a financial plan or that sort of thing. But financial plans are often part of a proposal now. They're sometimes a free deliverable. So the data gathering should start at the very first communication with them, right?
Yeah.
And there's also data tools that are, they're a little scary, but like whether they're lead gen tools or other data tools that are combing public information, different databases, right? Legal actions, filings, different things that they can access so that they can gather more of that data and have it ready to go. So there's a big difference between just like data gathering built into your CRM or your financial planning tool, which I think are features built in the wrong place, and thinking about it as something upstream where it's like, let's capture it the way it happens in the real world. If I have a conversation with you at a conference and you tell me a little bit about yourself, how do I capture that right there and then?
Sure.
Yeah, I think data
you
capture
use
is
your
like
brain,
the least
actually.
Yeah, but I also think data capture is like the least interesting part of this. Like data capture, which is like note taking and like, basically reading your emails, etc. That's like a fairly solved problem. And I think where a lot of the action is going to be is in separating out like the systems of action from the systems of record. To your point about CRMs, Joe, and like we've talked a lot about CRMs. Ultimately, the CRM is the ultimate system of record that exists for advisors, and so stuff has to integrate with the CRM, and CRMs are going to have to build more functionality on top of it. But ultimately, there's going to be a lot of room for people to innovate on top of those. And so the question is like, what's going to happen? Actually, there was this post. I'm just sharing it now that I thought was fascinating. So Gokul, someone I worked with before, and has some really good thoughts on just where AI is going. And so he shared this diagram that the OpenAI Frontier put out. I understand this is like some kind of organization affiliated with OpenAI. Um, and yeah,
I
basically
can't
what they're
tell when you're
saying,
joking or when you're serious. Uh,
it is
it is it
which
is
part?
it is involved with OpenAI or it's not.
I think it is involved with OpenAI.
Okay, that's good.
It is involved with OpenAI. And so, yeah, I mean, I think what he's pointing out here is that like people are always talking about new systems of record coming in and like, you know, let's build new systems of record, like whether it's a new CRM or, you know, new custodial system. But ultimately, there's actually all this stuff that happens on top of the system of record that is super valuable. And it's really unclear whether this is going to be created by the systems of record themselves or whether these are going to be new companies that interact with the systems of record. So, I mean, I think this is what people are calling systems of action, where they take this data and they do things with it. And so, yeah, I mean, the CRM, just to name an example, right? Wealthbox, Orion, Wealthbox, Redtail, and you know, Slant, and all those people are probably going to be trying to add agents and things on top. Um, at the same time, they're going to get a lot of pressure to make themselves compatible with ChatGPT, so people can interact with it using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. And there are going to be other applications. You know, we've interviewed a lot of founders who integrate with Wealthbox and others, where you know those applications can interact with it. But I think right now, these middle yellow boxes, you know, evaluation, optimization, agent execution, grabbing context from multiple sources, really mostly an unsolved problem. Like it has not been solved by most people. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be playing in this space and who are going to be building interesting things here.
Yeah, so data gathering for me starts on my calendar and my email. So if someone books an appointment with me, it goes on my Google Calendar. Slant picks up the meeting that prompts me to create a contact in Slant based on the meeting. Then it automatically, sets up the note taker to attend the meeting. It automatically enriches the data based on their data enriching service.
Yep.
I think it's Clado.ai is what they're using. Um, so like for me, that's where data gathering actually starts. Like when I receive an email from someone, but more so like once an appointment is booked on the calendar, then that prompts me to create a contact record, and then the data starts getting gathered and organized after that.
Yeah, for me, that's this first layer. You're
Okay.
basically getting business context and data and systems in place. Now, but I think where it gets interesting is when you actually use that information for your goals. To your point, like people should be building their business. They should be figuring out how do I get more customers? How do I, you know, add value to my customers? You know, have bigger contracts with my existing customers, more AUM, et cetera. And I think to do that, you need agent execution. You need to have like really detailed meeting prep coming at you from all that information, right? That's agent execution, I think. You need to have great follow-ups. You need to have, you know, all sorts of other things on top of it, right? We have a daily coach that basically tells you what you should work on every day to make sure that you're using your, to your point about timing. How do you make sure you use your time effectively? And that's really this layer, agent execution. And then the next layer up is evaluation optimization. How do you make sure those agents are doing a really good job, right? There's quality really matters. If you have a meeting follow-up email that's just AI slop, no one's ever going to send it, and you should not send it. Meanwhile, if it's like super compelling, then you should send it. In fact, if it starts getting better than what you build, you should probably send it. You know, Finney has built a business off of having like really great execution and optimization because their stuff just works, right? Um, and they, you know, their data gathering is literally just, you know, grabbing publicly available data for the most part, right? Apollo, et cetera. So their their differentiation is really in this higher level thing. And I think that's where companies like Slant and others are going to end up differentiating long term. I mean, the question right now is which of these companies is going to do the best here, right? Or will it actually be OpenAI who's going to go down
So,
and just do this?
Mark, what does this look like for advisors then, in your opinion? Like, fast forward a little bit, what does the landscape look like for advisors? Are they using the tools they're using today as systems of record with some things on top, with completely new applications as kind of like what they use day to day, or do the systems of record just add these layers and that's also the user interface and what they're using, or something completely different?
Yeah, I think it's hard to speak about advisors generally because I think there's actually a big generation gap amongst the advisors. And I mean, or you could just think of it as the segmentation and pretty dramatic segmentation. So there are your early adopters, then there's your basically people who are towards the middle of the curve, and then your laggards. And so I think we should only really talk about the laggards, the people who are like about to retire. They're not going to change anything, and they don't need to.
Yeah.
People who are on the younger side who are taking over the practice, or the people who are really engaged trying to figure out how to make the tools work, which are a lot of our clients. Yeah, for those people, I think the stack's going to look dramatically different. My prediction is where they spend their time is going to change dramatically. There's sort of this Hunger Games of SaaS where right now they're in 30 different tabs, and they're going to be in 3 or 4 tabs, and which tabs those are it's a little bit up for grabs. I mean, it could be Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot if they get their act together. It could also be a brand new company. It could be Slant, right? If Slant wires everything together and it's like your main window into the world and it has access to all of your data, it could be that. It could be Wealthbox if Wealthbox ends up executing really well on their vision around like bringing all this data together.
Wealthbox and Red Shell are obsolete. Didn't you guys read my post about that? They're
I
so
missed the
far
memo.
behind.
I missed the memo. I think you're like the professional advisor tech shit poster. I think that's what's going on. You're like you know how to get a reaction.
I think Ben Olsen used to be pretty good at it. I just haven't seen anything
Yeah.
in a while.
Do you think my
Okay.
takes are crazy? Like, do you actually think I'm really missing the boat on AI, or
I mean, let me look at your posts.
I think I should turn off your screen sharing capabilities.
Uh, you should turn mine off, or I should turn it off. Yeah, I mean, I think why don't I ask my AI system what it thinks about your posts?
You should go for it.
Yeah, so our Joe Moss's posts. Oh, let me actually share my proper screen here.
I do like the
So
daily coach idea though, because like that's practically something I actually need help with. Is like, what are my 3 priorities for today? And then it actually like tracks my time and what I'm working on, and make sure that I'm working on my priorities. That I think actually would be super helpful. It's
Yeah,
So
that.
this
so
is the desktop app that we built that basically browses the web.
Okay.
So you'll actually see it. Basically go in now, look you up, right? So it looked you up here. It's now going to start looking at your posts and it will form a view, right? Uh, so yeah, I mean this basically can go out and navigate the web for you, grab stuff off the web, fill in stuff in the web. It's not allowed to send money or send messages or do anything consequential. Uh,
that's boring.
yeah, sorry. It's so safe.
I wanted to do some sports gambling for me.
Mostly on point with a generous drizzle of internet growth guru energy. Not crazy like tinfoil hat crazy. High velocity, motivational, occasionally hand wavy. What is hand wavy? Like hand wavy?
I think it's just like being too general, I think is the thing. So let's say compare his posts to James
Oh
Cantwell
dear.
and Ben Olsen. It's Ian, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
yeah.
so. They're on
I don't know how I feel
firing.
about doing this live on this thing.
This
I
is
think it's
this is
fantastic.
so you already have a daily coach built into Knapsack?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a daily coach. So everyone who signs up for Knapsack can get a daily coach right away. It connects to their data and it tells them what they should work on every day.
How do you tell the daily coach what your priorities are?
It figures it out by looking at your email.
But what if you want to tell it what your
Oh,
priorities
you can
are?
do that. You can modify it. But I mean, I think ultimately a lot of your revealed priorities are stated in your email and your notes, I should say, your note taker and your cloud drive, right? So if you have like a goals document or something like that, it pulls from that. If there are things you committed to do, it pulls off that. If you have like a PowerPoint with like goals, it works best. it works best with people who like have those kind of strategy documents. If you don't have any of that, it tries to deduce, but you can modify it.
Do you use it on a daily basis?
Absolutely. It's
Cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good. I don't know if I can show it here because it might be a
No,
little bit
that's fine.
crazy.
Yeah, I would probably advise against that. It always has very like, it's got all your details.
It's
I
got
kind
all
of
your
like,
details.
I mean, I like what came up.
Yeah, James Cantwell, more real world. You're very real, keeping it real, James. Less viral
Try.
packaging can be denser, less repeatable as a formula.
Well, somebody recently used the word clickbait with my post, and I was like, I don't know about that one. I don't feel like I clickbait anything. So
Yeah.
try and keep it real.
So, but like my point with all this is why don't you actually just read Joe's posts, read Ben Olson's posts, and read James Cantwell's posts and use your like God-given brain to decide how they differ.
Well,
Um,
well, it's
Is
it's
that the
actually
best use of
exactly
your
what you
time,
were
Joe?
saying. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like the people who are successful are very careful about how they use their time, so they have better tools for prioritizing. And so I think that's the point of Daily Coach is like here's some things you should know about. And actually, this tool has a heartbeat where like it can like push things at you that are really relevant for what you're doing. So if you're John Work and Joe Moss posts something about Wealthbox, maybe it'll push you and say, hey, you want to take a look at this. But it
okay.
doesn't mean you have to be on LinkedIn nonstop, right? Because that can take a ridiculous amount of time if you're a busy executive. So I think it's a bit like having a chief of staff. That's the way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the personal assistant dream that people have that it actually saves you more time than you spend on it. And I think where we're getting to. It's taken a little while, but we're getting to that area now. And I mean, on your posts in general, I'd have to like look at the specific ones, but to your posts in general, I would say first of all, I find them wildly entertaining. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad that you're posting again. Um, Second thing I'll say is like I feel like yeah, I mean a little bit bearish. I mean there's AI bulls and AI bears, and you're a little
Sure.
bearish, which I think there's a place for that. Like let's keep it real. I think I'm definitely more inclined to try tools and also more inclined to like see the opportunity. There's like this saying here of like the San Francisco School of AI versus the New York School of AI,
Okay.
which is admittedly very coastal elite as terms of
I was going to
categorization.
say,
But
why aren't we talking about the Arizona School of
I
AI?
know
Aren't
the
we?
Scottsdale. You got to create the Scottsdale School of AI. So yeah, I mean, ultimately the New York school is like, what can't AI do? Let's talk about all the areas where AI is failing, right? And limitations and how it takes up a lot of time. And then the San Francisco school is like, what can it do? Like, what has it not been successful at yet, but that it will be successful at in the future? So just like very traditional sort of optimistic, but I would say I'm definitely more in the San Francisco school in terms of like I see potential of things it can do, and I'm very interested in building towards that potential. And ultimately, there were a lot of I guess 90s internet. There were a lot of people who were very skeptical that people would put their credit card in the internet, and people were skeptical that identity would be solved on the internet. The internet, no one knows if you're a dog, all those things, right? But of course, it took a while. It definitely took longer than people expected. And the people who were skeptical of Webvan were 100% right. But then the people who are skeptical of e-commerce in the long term were 100% wrong. So I think like ultimately there's no right answer here. I think there's like good natural tension between these like proclivities. I'm
Yeah.
definitely a natural optimist. And so I like when people keep me in check and keep it real.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Michael Kitts is on your guys' podcast. And then like a day or two later, he posted like artificial intelligence is actually more expensive than human intelligence at basically everything. And I was like, wow, that's a
Yeah.
bold take.
Definitely very, very, very bearish, right? So, I mean, I will say there are a few things on that I didn't have a chance to like, because we obviously want to give people on our podcast a platform, so we don't want to be interrupting nonstop. But like, there were a few things where I think that logic breaks down. I think the number one area it really breaks down is the capabilities are increasing capability almost exponentially. And so just because right now the note taker is only saving people 10 to 15% of time, it doesn't mean that the AI tools won't save people 50% of time in a year. And you actually sort of have to invest now to get there, right? It's a bit like telling people who started using AOL email, it's not really saving you that much time versus going to the post office. You do send 3 emails a day. You might as well just send 3 letters a day, right? But that's not really taking into account the exponential compounding of this stuff. Um, and I really think that's where it's yeah, he's really underestimating the impact pretty dramatically. He's also looking at an average, whereas I think the variance is more important than the mean. There are some people who are not using it very much. It's not saving much time, but I think there are some people, and I know anecdotally, there are some people who are saving them 30 to 50% of their time. And those people have figured something out. And that's going to become a lot more prevalent.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm like the entire reason I do what I do now is because I posted the Kits' map on my wall 7 years ago and was like, I'm going to learn about every single one of these companies. And I've done more demos than probably any advisor. So like I'm as I'm sure James has as well.
I was gonna say we
like
could compare numbers. I did something like 200 last year.
um I think 80% of the map needs to go away. I mean, honestly, I think 80% of advisors aren't very good at being advisors. I think we're on the edge of like a truly massive revolution in advice. Um, Advice is life-changing counsel. Like, you meet with Joe. Joe says some absolutely crazy things that make you rethink everything you've ever thought. And then like you walk out of the meeting and you decide to like I'm exaggerating a bit, but like you decide to change
But
the
what
course
is
of
that
your life.
revolution? But what is that revolution in advice then? How is that going to change?
Um, I think this industry has just accepted mediocrity, like immense amounts of mediocrity from technology and from advisors, for a long time. I think like why companies like Root are growing like insanely fast is because he said over and over and over, we have the best human advisors in the industry. Um, and it's all about human conversations. Like, like you can buy Origin AI Financial Advisor for $1 a year. It's worth like negative $100 a year. It's like completely pointless. Or you can pay a financial advisor $10,000 a year, um, have some meaningful conversations and like actually change the course of your life or the course of your relationship with your kids, or like actually live a better life. I don't think AI will help humans live better lives generally. I think humans being more human will help humans live better lives.
But I think
I
you
don't
took
think
a really important leap there because you said like, I don't think it's replacing the humans with AI at all. I think it's making those humans who are really good at this a lot more productive.
Yeah,
So I don't think anyone's contemplating, an AI first interface. I mean, maybe some people are out there, but like I think most people are like contemplating that the interaction is still human to human. I think where there's like a really interesting question is that whole, um, question of how many clients an advisor can have and how many people can they help. I
right.
think that's like a really, really interesting question, which I don't think I know that there's like the magic number of like 120 relationships, et cetera. I don't think, I actually think there will be a change there. And I don't know, I'm actually curious with Root growing so fast, have they scaled up their team
Yeah.
accordingly? They probably are trying to figure out how to make their team as productive as possible, right?
No, and he uses I mean, he said they're using Jump AI and they're using Hazel.
There we go.
He doesn't know how his advisors are actually using it, but he said we have access to these tools.
it's an interesting
Um,
combo to use.
That is interesting to use them both, but
no, but
either.
like, yeah, I don't want to make leaps. I do say some crazy things. Um, every single tool I recommend will have AI in it. Like Outrist will have AI, Slant has AI, Current Client has AI. Um, but I don't think you'll even know. Like in the best use cases of AI, you won't even know that AI is being used like under the surface. Um, like
No,
I
you're
think you'll
100% right.
I mean, like, I think you'll know. I think the thing is the friction is gone,
yeah,
right? Like the idea is that it's just more natural, it's more human like. So like when we were talking about Claudebot earlier and I was mimicking talking into the phone and then talking back,
right.
that's AI, right? It won't be but it's seamless. It made the experience easier. It reduced the friction of opening my CRM, going into it, opening the app on my phone, finding it, right? It reduced that friction. So I think that's really more what you're going to see. And to your point, Joe, like it is more human. They're going to make the interface more human friendly because we're the ones using it.
Right.
So if that means it's more conversational, if that means it generates a UI on the fly that's more personalized to Joe, then that's the direction that I think we'll end up. But I don't think it'll be. I've said it'll be in. It needs to be more invisible, but that's. I don't know if I was saying it correctly. Like it'll just be more seamless, less friction, not really invisible.
I mean, I totally agree with that. I think, I mean, the things that people are most excited about with Knapsack are the daily coach, which just comes in your email every morning.
Okay.
The email autopilot, which auto drafts responses to your emails and you review them and change them and then send them. And the automated meeting follow up, which automatically drafts a follow up email that's very targeted. Those do not require, I mean, they reduce friction. They don't require extra action. They just basically magically appear
Yeah.
in your box, and then you basically work off that. And I know we're not unique in doing that, but I think to your point, James, about like these asynchronous experiences that just magically happen, and you're not like making a conscious decision. I'm going to use AI now. I think those will become more and more prevalent, and I think that's the way someone like Root will grow. And I actually think Jason Wenk had a really important point on our podcast, which is the advisors that are growing most quickly have the biggest problems, the most acute problems, because if you have like a really tedious onboarding process and you're onboarding a whole bunch of new clients every week, you really feel that
Yeah.
really, feel it acutely. And so you need to fix that problem ASAP.
Right.
And so ultimately, I think that there's a subset of people that are really incentivized to start using these tools. And it's sort of life or death for them. There's probably another subset where it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, he made a point. Like, if you're opening hundreds of accounts a day, you're going to absolutely hate Schwab. I mean, you'll probably want to
Exactly.
kill yourself if you're
Yeah.
using Pershing. But if you're using Altruist, like, you can open hundreds of accounts about as effortlessly as if you're opening them on Robinhood or something. Like, I
This
think,
is why, like, when I consult with firms every week. And when I do, this is one of the main things I ask is like, there's all these sort of legacy issues that they're just accepting as like, this is the way we have to do business.
right,
And so they're like, well, how do we fix this problem where we have to open accounts across 5 custodians? And it's like, well, can we just take a step back? And I'm not saying you're going to go to one, but like, why do you have 5 custodians?
right.
Let's revisit like that conversation because with any organization, as soon as you can simplify things, everything else is going to get easier. So you got 5 custodians, 5 different account opening processes, 5 different sets of forms, 5 different integration points, 5 different reconciliation points, depending on what you're utilizing, right? Like everything just compounds. So, like, let's start with the things that make your organization really complex and figure out if they're truly necessary and valuable. And if
Yeah,
they're not, then great, we can strip them away. If they are valuable, then the question is like, to whom, right? Are you servicing a really broad swath of customers? And if you were to narrow down and maybe let some go, how does that change your business and your ability to scale?
yeah.
Right. And many firms are like, we don't care to change any of this. And that's totally fine. But the conversation and that sort of internal reflection is worth having.
Yeah, no, there's one business owner I was talking to. He does video marketing for financial advisors, but he used to be like industry agnostic, and then he focused on financial advisors, so he had to like let some revenue go to focus. And then he was focused on financial advisors, but then decided to focus like completely on video and completely on one example he gave was like he's working with a multi-billion-dollar firm, but they weren't responsive to anything. So like he was making a lot of revenue from like the engagement, but they weren't doing any of the work that he needed them to do in order to
Yeah.
complete the work. So he fired them. So like he reduced his revenue again and was like, I'm only working with advisors that will engage with the process of making video marketing content. So
I think
like
that's very smart. I think that's
I
super
do too.
smart. I mean, I think that's probably why the tech map is so varied because different people are working with different segments of the 300,000 advisors out there, right? Who are like obviously, we've talked about how a lot of those are part time, and so then you have to
yeah,
winnow it down full time, and then winnow it down further to independent, and then winnow it down further. So you get into these like micro audiences, and actually, I think it's net positive. There's a lot of talk about like how big tech and these large companies are just dominating. There's no room anymore for like small tech startups that are finding a niche.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that in this space in wealth tech, there is room for like niche platforms or niche tools that find like an audience and actually are bootstrapped. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's like a net positive. I don't know if that map will go away. I don't think it will be winnowed down. I think people are still going to be like finding niche tools they really like, and like I think just let me just shout out to Vega Minds, right? I've like come across a couple people who are just like passionate advocates for Vega Minds, right?
Yeah.
Um, Not a lot of people, right? It's like it's not as big as Jump, but like the people who use it absolutely love it. Now, why is that? Like, why have more people not used it? Is it a marketing problem, or is it just that like the actual number of people who are willing to do email auth and like start using a tool like that is actually like a fairly small market, but the people who are willing to do it are really excited about it. I think that might be what's wrong.
And that is a solid. I've looked at that platform and it's impressed me from day one.
No,
Like
yeah,
Vega Minds
I've heard that even
Super
from,
sharp.
is impressive. Yeah.
I heard that even from Jason Wank. He's like, the leaders in some of these categories are not actually the best product. So like Jump may be leading the note takers, but there's three other note takers that are like actually much better products than Jump is. And that's like, it's like an issue in and of itself. It's almost like raising money is a massive marketing play. But I think it's actually like um, I can't think of his name.
I would, I mean, here's just something I would volunteer, like, and it has nothing to do with Jump, but like just generally speaking, the most popular anything is rarely the best. So
Well, they
it's
have to
very,
build to the lowest common denominator, so that's often happens,
yeah.
right? Where you have to
And
like simplify your product at that point.
yeah, and then the other thing is like the best, and this is one of the things that like I come across all the time is like the number one question I get asked whenever I bump into somebody at a conference or something is like, what is the best X? What is the best note taker? What is the best this? And I'm like, there is no such thing. And it doesn't mean that there isn't one that maybe does things technically better than another,
Yeah.
but there is best fit. And best fit is what fits your organization. You will get the most utility you will actually use. And so many times I'm recommending, like, I don't want to call it a lesser product, but maybe a product that has like lesser features or a more narrower scope because I know it'll get high adoption and utility.
Yeah.
And that ultimately is what matters more. So it's not about a feature comparison contest. It's about how will you make use of this platform in your organization and how will it propel you forward and will you use it? Like that's the most important piece. So the best,
Let
the
me
one with the
ask you,
largest market share, horrible way to choose a product.
yeah, let me ask you a question from a builder's point of view. Like, one of the challenges for anyone building this space is the fact that advisors prefer using tools targeted only at advisors because it limits your options, it limits your market, limits your ability to raise outside venture capital, right?
Sure.
Why is that? Why do advisors have such a strong preference? It's actually quite unique to financial advisors, honestly. I think in other industries, people actually like if there's a horizontal tool and there's some features, obviously, that enables it for their industry. But like, why do you think there's that super strong preference?
Well, Root Financial uses HubSpot and Monday.com as their CRM and work
Well,
management
case in
platform.
point, right? Like that probably works really well for them. So why are other people not getting on board to
Because
that approach?
they don't want to grow fast. They would rather demo software all day and like research.
I don't know. That's a pretty cynical take. I feel like there's something else going on. I feel
I
like there's
don't I
like
don't know enough
something.
No,
about I haven't done my research on Root to
it's
really comment there,
integrations.
but
I think integrations is a big part of it. Root probably
yeah.
has realized like HubSpot doesn't need an integration with Schwab and Altruist in order to be a fantastic CRM, but I think a lot of advisors don't realize that because they haven't sat down and thought about it. You don't actually need your custodian integrated into your CRM, um,
Right.
which I think Root's growth has proven. But I think a lot of advisors just they think all their tools need to be integrated, but the best in class worldwide will never integrate with the specific tools that advisors think that they need to be integrated with.
I'd agree, and I think that's rethinking. Like, I mean, Mark says this a lot, but like system of record versus system of action, and then like where does this data need to live? How do I need to interface with it? Because it's pretty common for me to hear like, oh, I need this in my CRM. I need this in my CRM, and I was like, great, who's accessing it? How often is it changing? What is your CRM doing with it? Oh, well, this is how I view it. Well, when? Under what circumstances are you looking at this portfolio data in the CRM? Well, I'm looking at it when I'm meeting with a client to do this. Well, okay, if we solved for that with proper meeting preparation that brought that information in, does it need to be in the CRM anymore? No. Well, great, because I don't think it needs to be in the CRM.
Yeah.
So what do you know? We just solved your CRM and your portfolio management system don't need to talk to one another.
Yeah. Although
Not directly.
there are some like custodian CRM financial planning tool like all in ones. I mean, they're
Mhm.
typically like sitting on top of Apex Clearing or Drive Wealth, like Altruist did in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more and more of those where the data actually is all in one system. And then that system becomes the sixth system of record and system of action. Unless you think the custodian underlying that system is still the system of record. But
I think people are going to copy the Outros model.
yeah.
Um, I mean, like custodians producing software is nothing new. It's just somebody did it right for the first time. Um, right? Like he learned the lessons and saw what was wrong with custodian built software and provided software, right? And it was a gateway to custody. Like, hey, you don't have to pay Advent or somebody else six figures to go set up your portfolio management software, right? We'll give you back in the day Portfolio Center if you custody with us. Um,
Is
so it
Jason
was
building a CRM?
I think we asked him that. Um, no, but I mean, I think you're right. Like, I don't think there's a right and wrong here. Like, are you going to see more of these sort of things? I think yes. Are you going to see more of these separate data being integrated, like the diagram that Mark was showing earlier? I think that too.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going like one direction or another. And if it is, I'm not going to predict it, and I'll be wrong anyway. Um,
It's definitely wise to think of advisors as segments. I mean, we've got massive organizations with 20,000 advisors that they're trying to build technology for, and we've got, onesie twosie advisor shops. And we've got some advisors focused on retirees and some focused on like 30-year-olds. So
yeah.
like I think what everything Mark has said around like the reason there are so many tools is advisors have different preferences. Like
Well,
why is there
This
so
is
many different types of candy bars in Walmart? Because
this is part of the reason that I started
Exactly.
Wealth Tech Select in the first place and why I'm
yeah,
building RA Ascent now is because you look at something and like the Kits' map is so awesome, but it is, and I've said this before, it's it's a map of what is available.
right.
It's not segmented in any particular way. It's not focused, right? It is just a list. And so to your
Well, it's like
point,
a
like
Yahoo categories list, right? It's like early internet where Yahoo had categories. Like at some point, it's not useful anymore.
well, that's I don't think it's I mean, like I sort of feel bad saying this, but like I don't think it's that useful right now. Right?
Mm.
Like, and no offense, Michael. I don't think it's that useful right now because the thing is, it's just a list of categories. And to where we started this podcast in the beginning, to bring it full circle, it's just like a waste of time to look at a lot of different tech. So, what you really need to do is figure out what problems you're trying to solve, see what you can do by fixing things within your four walls first, and then work with an expert, shameless plug to myself, and the Wealth Tech Select team
Yeah.
to help you figure out what's the best fit solutions for you and then get to work making your clients happy and building your business.
Yeah. Well, we are over time, and that's a fantastic place to wrap up. I would like to just Mark give a plug for what you're doing and how someone can work with you, and then James give a plug for what you're working on, how you help advisors.
I might have just done that, but yeah.
But just maybe just clarify like what are
Well,
the services
if
that
you're still listening to the podcast, you may fall in the category where you're spending way too much time not building your business. But ultimately, I would say for Knapsack, I would say go to knapsack.ai, sign up, and get your daily coach.
yeah,
That's probably the number one thing you should try to do. We also have a desktop app we're launching that allows you. I just demoed it. Allows you to actually not have to worry about data connections and just automatically get work done. And so that's coming soon. I would just go to knapsack.ai and try the tool.
yeah. No, that looked super valuable, even for an anti-AI guy like me.
It is valuable. Don't be anti, you don't have to be anti or pro, right? It's just
You can be
another
a
tool in the
skeptic. I
toolkit.
think skeptic. I think is a better word for what you are.
Skeptic is good.
There we
Yeah.
go.
I like that. So as far as my stuff, so James Cantwell with WellTech Select. We work with firms on a professional services basis. We also have a technology platform, and we really just make it easier for firms to grow and scale. We kind of work with firms of any size that's really trying to grow or having issues scaling, and those are two completely different things. It's easy to grow a business, it's hard to scale a business.
Hmm.
And so we just work with firms really on their not just their tech stack, but on complete alignment of goals, clients that they serve, et cetera. So we help with complete practice management, and we're launching RA Ascent. Go to raascent.com to sign up for the wait list later this year, which is going to help with practice management and then helping you match with the technology and service providers to help you execute on your goals.
Very cool. Awesome.
And
All right,
check us
guys.
both out at
Yeah.
the AI for Advisors podcast
For
and
sure.
learn more at aiforadvisors.com, where we've had great guests like Joe Moss.
The number one AI for Advisors podcast. It's called AI for Advisors.
Well,
We
this
are the
is
number one podcast in the world named AI for Advisors.
Yes,
Just going to put that out there.
for sure.
this is the AI for Advisor Tech Book podcast right here.
We should, guys, this has been a blast. I really appreciate you putting up with some of my crazy ideas. It takes a lot of guts to say some of the crazy things I say, but what I find fascinating is the things that I usually like really think I should edit out are the things that resonate most with people. My post on Finney was like I've never gotten so much positive feedback from a post, and it's amazing when you say the things that everybody's thinking but no one's willing to say, like that's actually what resonates.
Well, LinkedIn's a little too polite, and I'm not encouraging people to be negative, but it's very much a rah 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 sort of place, and a little reality check I think is all right.
I'm a fan of the ship
Professional
posting.
reality check.
Yeah, I think I'm a fan of the ship posting generally, like just keeping people spurring debate. I'm a huge fan of that. There's a lot more of that on X than on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I generally think always good to have debate, especially if it comes from the perspective of just like trying to learn. I think it's all awesome.
Yeah.
I'd rather debate over Zoom or over coffee. I don't want to debate over a keyboard, even if it's not anonymous.
It is true. Yeah. No, it's a lot easier to type things you'd never say to a person to their face. And I've gotten in trouble for that a couple times.
Yeah. So if I've pissed anybody off and you want to Zoom, I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah, come on our podcast. If you're pissed off at us, come onto our podcast. That's
that too. Yeah,
that's
sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you around. We'll do this again. The AI for Advisors, Advisor Tech collaboration podcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
I love it. Thanks so much, Joe.
All right.
Keep posting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay.
Talk to you
Bye-bye
guys
now.
later. Bye-bye.